Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Before I go to public forum, we want to do a public dedication this morning. And this is concerning our Main Street addition. And as you're all aware, that project was quite an undertaking. We, in the middle of preliminary engineering, we had to do an archaeological dig and everything else to prove there was no indigenous traffic along that slough before we crossed it, and it delayed the project by several months, but we did have some help with that water crossing, and I want to ask these two gentlemen to join me at the podium now, and that's John Stutzman and Larry Williams. So I want to make sure this mic's on and picking us up well.
I'll get up close to it.
John, you and Larry met with Ethan and I, what was it, Ethan, 3 years ago? And you had offered a little financial assistance for this slough crossing on Main Street to, I think, to properly motivate Ethan and I to get this done. And there was a lot of work that went into it, and I want to thank you guys for your contribution. And of course, thank you guys for everything that you continue to do for the city.
It goes a lot further back than 3 years.
I understand. We are going to have a bronze plaque replicated that will be mounted somewhere out there on the site with everything you see here on this.
Huh. Very good, very good.
And that street will serve this community for some years, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited about all the new homes that are starting to go up down there, and we're experiencing a little growth spurt right now, and I hope we can keep that happening. And certainly appreciate everything that you guys have always done for the city of Halstead and continue to do it to this day. So, thank you, gentlemen.
Might just a little background. Larry said Main Street's gotta go in. So finally one day I said, Larry, this each escrow $25,000 and it has to go in 3 years. It didn't make 3 years, but the plans were well on its way.
I got slowed down by an archaeological dig. We were doing the best we could do on that.
It's very important to get us projected into the south, and that's the only way we could do it, is get it done, and get it done, you did.
Yeah, well, and like I said, I always appreciate your guys' foresight, your guys' advice that you guys continue to advise me, and I'll always welcome that and always appreciate that. Thanks for what you do for this community.
Well,
Thank you very much, and I want to, right now is the time to say it. I think our old settlers, pardon my medicine is affecting my speech, but the old settlers celebration has just morphed into more and more and better and better. And I just want to say thank you, Old Settlers Committee.
Oh, just take another one.
suck it in, huh?
Doing the best I can.
Thanks a lot.
All righty. I'll now open up for public forum. If there's anybody here wishing to address the council that's not on the agenda, now's the time. Seeing no movement from the gallery, I'm going to close the public forum and ask for, I'm going to ask if there's any agenda changes.
Mr. Mayor, we have no changes to present this evening from staff.
Okay, then I'll ask for the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda and also an amendment to the consent agenda that was sent out to each of us at 3:30 this afternoon. Mr. Robinson had found a little issue. It has been revised and attended to. So with that, I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That stands approved. Now let's move on to unfinished business. We have one item under unfinished business tonight, and that's an IT network server replacement. Ethan's probably gonna give us bad news on that.
No, so didn't print the quotes out, just kind of had the previous one update. I'll note before I go into specifics, we did seek answers to the questions that had been posed by the council on the cloud-based solution. And those answers were, one, it's a subscription service, so should the city ever switch to a managed service provider, as long as they had the ability to take that subscription to Azure, and most reputable IT companies probably have a relationship with Azure, then that's not specific to Imagine IT. And then, sorry, I'm trying to find the answers here. And as far as the cloud setup does meet all KCGIS, which is related to the police department and the network security that has to be responsible for our law enforcement system. It is fully compliant with KCGIS. Security setup monitoring on the server. Nothing is included. Everything as far as is either already in our existing IT security agreement we're under, or is part of that agreement. We did ask some issues with the latency or guarantees that a cloud-based solution would work with our current municipal software provider. Since that's also housed offsite servers for data specific to that system. They did have to come in and modify once they had visited with CIC a little bit about it. It brought the total estimated cost to $20,000, just under $20,000, $19,355 for the replacement to do the necessary changes that they would need there and the extra IT work. And then going on to ongoing costs, the city moving forward, if we move to cloud-based and assuming the city never went back with a physical server, we would no longer have to budget for that hardware. There are still periodic updates to the operating systems in the cloud, things of that, which sometimes require a little migration. Their estimated costs, they occur once every 2 to 4 years. We're somewhere between $1,500 to $2,000. And then depending on the level, estimated it could roughly even be $5,000. But again, that's kind of, the longer you push it, the higher the expense. So if you kept with ongoing updates, you have a potentially lower expense. You just have that lower expense more often. So those were the ongoing questions. And I believe that was all I had that the council was looking for in terms of additional information.
Ethan, one
Yeah.
question. Any guesstimate of how long it takes to make the conversion to either source? How long, is the system going to be down?
When we did our last physical to physical, I think we were down maybe half a day
Okay,
for the conversion. I mean, and they had communicated that. I did not ask for the time conversion, migrating to the cloud. So we can get that information. Again, we're not at a point where we have to make a final decision today. Want to get both the quotes since they sent the update today when they kind of finally got an answer back from CIC, from the engineers, and said, we need to modify that ongoing. The other big difference, if you will, although you can see there in the agenda memo, the monthly costs slightly higher on the on-premise because we have to do a backup solution where the backup is already built into the Azure system. So that's the large benefit as far as ongoing monthly, but that monthly cost would change with what they proposed today. So
I'm assuming with the other state requirements that we've met with this solution, it also meets the HIPAA requirements for our EMS billing and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I would change the recommended action, not knowing that we were gonna get an updated proposal and say, we can bring those, any other questions you want me to have firm answers to, and then present final proposals for an on-prem and the cloud-based to you all next meeting for decision.
You want to move to table this until next meeting? To revisit this at next meeting? Mr. Mayor, with that, I'd make a motion to table this topic until our next scheduled council meeting.
Second. I have a motion and a second to table the discussion for the network server replacement to the next regular council meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Now we move on to new business, and the first item under new business is Halstead Community Foundation is here for a funding request, and I believe we have representation.
That would be me. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Mark Deno. I'm the chairman of the Halstead Community Foundation. We have an awesome opportunity again to get matched from the Patterson Family Foundation match. You guys have generously donated since 2010, $191,000 is what I'm reading here on my, and I think you guys got this flyer in your packet, I hope. So, we are able to match that again, and we decided as a, board that we wanted it to match between the 718 and 818, so we could hit Old Settlers in there with some alumni maybe coming back. So, we would love to have you donate 15,000 again for our operating fund. That's all I got. If you have any questions.
Council, any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the annual budget allocation of $15,000 to the Halstead Community Foundation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the annual 15K donation to the Halstead Community Foundation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There you
Thank
go,
you.
Mark.
Appreciate it.
You asked and we came through for
And
you.
we have, Macy Mueller is our director now, so you'll be seeing her around.
Would you like to come up to the podium and make an introduction
that's-
to the
She could do
city?
this. I mean,
Oh, no, I'm gonna let my board members do the face. Hi, I'm Macy Mueller. My husband Josh and I live just north of town here. I actually served in this role as director of the Halstead Community Foundation prior to 2020 when my youngest daughter was born. And so I stepped away for just a little bit until now I've almost got everybody in school full-time, and I'm ready to take back over and work with this community that I love so much, and look forward to working with you all too as we get to work on some projects around town that the Community Foundation has been putting their efforts toward.
Well, that's great. I'm sure the foundation is glad to have you back. I know they were looking pretty hard to find somebody to fill that spot.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have the opportunity.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next up, we have the Kansas Learning Center for Health funding request. Is there anybody here from them?
I do not believe so, and I'm not sure if that was a schedule miscommunication, so I guess I would make a motion to just table that to the
Okay.
next meeting, and we will see if we can get Lonnie here.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to table the Kansas Learning Center for Health funding request until our next scheduled council meeting.
Second. I have a motion and a second to table the Kansas Learning Center for Health funding request until the next regular council meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll visit that one at the next meeting. Next up on our agenda under new business is a police department equipment request. Looks like Matt's gonna give a presentation tonight. What in the world do you guys need now?
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight, we're here to talk about a camera purchase. This would involve the dash camera and body cameras that we use and wear.
We're starting to
Currently-
see some age and having some problems with our existing ones, aren't we?
Yes, we're currently running WatchGuard cameras. That company's been bought out by Motorola. They're phasing out the WatchGuard equipment and pushing customers to their new Motorola product line. So we've seen several issues with our aging WatchGuard, specifically the body cameras. I've listed a few: battery expansions, hardware freezes during recordings, intermittent power cycles that are causing issues with saving our recordings and causing us to lose camera footage. So we provided 3 quotes or estimates, one from Axon, one from Motorola, and one from Turnkey Mobile. Our recommendation is Axon. They're kind of the gold standard in the industry currently. You'll see in your packet, there's 2 quotes from Axon. They separated the dash cameras and the body cameras, which is why there's 2. Funding for it, if approved, would be split 3 ways. We would do $20,000 from our VIN funds, $20,000 from the police-specific equipment funds and the city equipment fund, and then $20,000 from the general city equipment funds. That would leave a portion of the bill still, roughly $15,000 to $20,000, which we would then pay annually over the 5-year contract out of VIN funds. The program is on a 5-year contract, which includes a technology assurance plan. That replaces our body cameras at 2.5 years, and again at the end of the 5 years with brand new cameras. That's to help alleviate this issue of aging cameras and hardware issues. That also includes all the storage. This is saved on a cloud-based system through Axon, on a secure system for retention and easy for evidence sharing and so forth with the court system and other agencies.
Chief, Deputy Chief,
Yes, sir.
what's the ETA?
The lead time's roughly 60 to 90 days.
Thanks.
Well, I think it's very important that we keep good camera gear on these officers. What do you say, counsel?
I say it's mission critical.
I went over a lot of them, researched a lot of different kinds. Axon's good. And I also looked at their equipment, and, I mean, it's obviously aging and important. So I'm good with it.
I agree. I think, it's something we have to stay on top of.
Yeah, Matt, is that what we had before, the last bunch?
Yes, previously we did have Axon body cameras. We made the transition to WatchGuard a little over 4 years ago in an effort to save some money and do more local storage, but it backfired.
What happens when you try to save money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, counsel, if you're in agreement, all I need is a motion.
With that, Mr. Mayor, if there's no more questions or discussion, I would make a motion to approve the Axon in-car and body worn camera purchase for amount not to exceed $80,000. And authorization for staff to execute necessary documents related to the purchase.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the new body cams for the police department. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. That passes.
Thank you, Council Mayor.
Yep.
You.
You just saved all the good stuff for when I was gonna be here, didn't you, Ethan? Next on our agenda under new business is a subject we've been talking about for a number of years, and that's the wastewater treatment plant improvement project. So you wanna bring us up to date on that one, Ethan?
Yeah, so not to rehash a lot of what was discussed at the work session on August 5th, but essentially in 2019, based on both changing permit conditions and some of information we were receiving from KDHE, we knew that we needed to look at some sort of solution for our wastewater treatment plant facility as it was struggling to meet current limits and then definitely wouldn't meet increased limits related to wastewater. So we originally engaged MKC to evaluate potential solutions, be it upgrading the existing facilities with new equipment, looking at alternate treatment methods, and they eventually came with 3 proposals, which were upgrades to the existing facility, an SBR process for treatment, and then a new Aeromod process for treatment to replace the current ditch. They gave price points, but they did not officially make any recommendation on what solution the city should pursue of those 3. We then engaged Schwab Eaton to look at the MKEC report and go through those and recommend to the city what they felt would be the best option for the city. They presented you all that. Mr. Mayor, I believe your physical copy is there since you were out during the work session. But that report essentially outlined that they felt the AeroMod process would be the best long-term solution for the city and set out the reasons why in that report. We did include the first 6 pages of both that report, which is essentially kind of like the executive summary, and then the executive summary from the MKEC report in the packets, just so everyone can see the general information. The rest of the report, it's a much lengthier document, but we'll make sure to get that up on the website so people can look. It's got a lot of technical details, graphs. But where we're at now in the process, and one of the things we asked Schwab to do, is to potentially be able to apply for funding for solutions. And they did a pre-application process on behalf of the city with where they were at in the report. That letter from KDHE indicating kind of the estimated cost Schwab Eaton had thrown, as well as potential loan forgiveness also was included in the packet. And where we are at in the process now would be to, one, it was a condition of our existing permit to have a facility study like the Schwab Eaton report done. So one, we're asking you to formally accept the Schwab Eaton report, and they will submit that to KDHE, which will be listed as meeting one of the conditions of our current wastewater treatment permit. And then there's also included, if we are going to pursue the indicated financing option for state revolving loan funds, Ranson Financial has an administrative services agreement at an amount of $25,000. This again was built into that estimated cost for the wastewater treatment plant. Pursuing funding, again, nothing obligates us to go forward. If at any point during it and they go through the numbers, the city still has the option to back away, but we would be out at least the cost of their assistance. And then that will put us in line basically for funding and getting this project rolling. And then finally, a motion to direct us to work with staff consultants and bond counsel, as we will have to engage our bond counsel to pursue the state funding for that project. Did confirm that this is largely exempt debt because it's related to the wastewater and utility infrastructure. So it's not something that's going to go against our GO debt, but obviously we will, if we issue that debt, have to disclose that as part of our ongoing bond obligations that we did incur other debt service for the city. So again, the estimated cost right now is around $4.5 million. Part of that would be for loan forgiveness, or essentially could be seen as a grant, as the Schwab Eaton engineer discussed during the work session. I'm hesitant until we have a more robust financial analysis done to try and communicate what exactly that would mean for rates. But again, I mean, there's probably no way around that it will impact rates, so.
Just an FYI, Ethan, Valley Center is going through the same thing right now. I didn't ask Brent if they're going through the same people or even the same unit, but ours is a fraction of what theirs is. And they know, they've already kind of told their people what's going to happen with their wastewater chargers, and ours are low. Compared to neighboring communities, ours are low.
Yeah,
Right now.
Ethan and I have discussed this, and it's inevitable that we're going to have to raise our wastewater rates. But I think with the state revolving loan funds, we could raise them at a rate that's still going to be reasonable to our people and cover the costs of this plant. Our old plant has served us well. It's served for a long time. We've got to be forward-thinking and keeping the community, especially our wastewater treatment, secure. And we're going to have to invest in that infrastructure to make sure that we're not having big problems with it. Pat, what's your take on this design that Schwab Eaton's been proposing?
Overall, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it fixes and takes care of a lot of the problems that we are gonna have, especially in the future. And it actually took out a couple pieces of equipment I thought were gonna stay, but that's fine. That just means less maintenance.
Less equipment's less maintenance, right? Yeah.
So, nothing wrong with that.
Well, I definitely think we're going to have to continue to pursue this, so.
Yeah, it seems like every city uses a different rate structure. Some of them have their rates, because when we're looking at rates to go into the future, the first 300 cubic feet, they charge for that as a flat fee, and then thereafter. Some actually differentiate between residential and commercial, as you had mentioned in our session. But those that don't do that, they figure the difference in water usage by those commercial entities would warrant the difference in rate anyway. So, but no, not everybody pays the same rate. And they have different ways of doing it, so.
Yeah, I think there's too many variables to compare cities. I mean, apples for apples, you know.
The majority do December, January, February, and then they do an averaging of those 3 winter months because nobody's watering a yard at that time.
Yeah.
Then they use that for the whole year and reevaluate it the next December, January, February.
And I would say that's actually, I guess, there are only real difference between residential and commercial is residential accounts are done based off average, and then that's set for the whole year, where commercial is based on whatever their monthly water bill was.
Yeah.
So it's just not typically a discernible enough difference. And we do technically have, like if somebody was sending something into the wastewater treatment system as far as like undue solids or something that required extra treatment, we do have modifiers for that technically on the commercial side. But I do think we could look at doing rates different than we have done them. But,
But we're not $78 a month either,
no.
like some people.
Again, the facility plan we have to have done and submitted to KDHE by December 31st, 2025. And we have to have improvements as identified in that plan done by September 30th, 2027, which is before the end of our next. So I feel, again, while this isn't necessarily the apple we all wanted to take a bite out of, this keeps us being proactive and not waiting until the last possible minute to try and keep ourselves in compliance with KDHE, so.
Are you looking for any formal action this evening?
Proceed.
Those 3 mentioned. The first one is absolutely imperative. Again, my opinion, with the loan forgiveness that's being communicated from KDHE, I mean, the engineer from Schwab Eaton told you they don't ever tell cities to, one, guarantee that will be offered in subsequent years. And 2, I mean, if you delay another year, you just take the chance of the cost most likely is not going to get cheaper.
Well, it's such a large amount too.
It's not gonna get cheaper.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a point that this loan forgiveness that keeps getting mentioned is not a loan forgiveness of the entire amount. It's 60% or up to $2 million. So if we're looking at a $4.5 million project, you just don't walk away from this. And Schwab Eaton's representative was here last week at our work session, and wastewater treatment is not my thing, but I clearly understood what he was presenting to us. And I'm in. I was sold. So with that, if there's no more questions or discussions, Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to accept and approve the preliminary engineering report for wastewater treatment improvements for Halstead, Kansas, dated July 24th from Schwab Eaton.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the plan from Schwab Eaton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries. Well, I guess you know what to do next, right, Ethan?
Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to make a motion to approve the administrative service agreement for Ransom Financial for an amount not to exceed $25,000 and authorization for the mayor to sign.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to enter into an agreement with Ransom Financial to help us finance this project. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That carries.
And one last, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to direct staff to work with consultants and the bond council to pursue state funding for this project.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for staff to work with bond council to secure the funding for this project. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you, council.
Ransom, they're in Wichita, aren't they?
Yeah. They work throughout the state.
Okay.
I know that wastewater treatment plant's been on the radar ever since I started on the council in 2013.
Yeah.
So it's been a hot button for a while, and yeah, we're gonna have to do something with it, and with the potential of these loan forgiveness going away next year, yeah, we probably need to get it done. I look at it as a 50-50 grant opportunity.
Pretty much.
Well, next on our agenda is the 2024 Kansas Region G Hazard Mitigation Plan. Ethan will walk us through this, although I think Councilman Van Scoy could probably be very familiar with it.
As you all have periodically had us come, and I think it was actually 6 months ago to the day, we had you vote on your intention to adopt the 2024 the Kansas Region G Hazard Mitigation Plan for the Kansas Department of Emergency Management, which includes Harvey County and the city of Halstead. So essentially at this point, it's been accepted pending, what is the correct acronym there? Basically a letter from, once all the jurisdictions agree to it, then it will be accepted pending approval by FEMA. So it is a lengthy document because it's all of Region G, so there was a link in the packet to that. And then we need to pass draft resolution 2024-08, which is a resolution that formally adopts or has Halstead adopting that hazard mitigation plan. The big benefit of us doing that is it keeps us eligible for any potential hazard mitigation grant funding opportunities that come from the city of Halstead. We have used those in the past to expand our storm siren coverage. Looks at anything basically that's listed on that mitigation. The big thing to remember if you went and checked out the Halstead specific is this is a planning document, so those are aspirational, so the city is not obligated to do all of those. We have the option at any time with anything we listed to pursue that with our own funding, because we're not guaranteed that we'd get grant funding, but it does strengthen an application quite a bit to be able to point to that plan and say, we listed this as a need for our community for potential hazards, and we want funding for it, so.
I'll motion to approve resolution 2024-08, adopting Kansas Homeland Security Region G Hazard Mitigation Plan and authorizing the mayor's signature.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2024-08. All in favor, say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Consider it adopted. Next item on the agenda is a request for proposal for residential solid waste collection.
Right, before we sent this out to contractors, included in the packet was a draft RFP. So everybody gets the same information to bid on. Looking at, kind of basically the rough outline of the city in terms of how many residential customers would be served, some of the current amenities of our current contract, which hopefully would continue or be offered by other contractors. Having them tell us what days they would pick up, et cetera. The timeline is essentially to get this, so it has about 3 weeks for response, and we could get proposals back to you for that first meeting in September. That way we are not trying to make a switch in providers at the last minute, because cart swap is quite a burden for public works and administrative staff if we do end up switching providers. So want to have as much advance notice and work out those kinks. But at this point, it would all be information where everyone's bidding, has the opportunity to bid the same, and you guys can evaluate all those proposals on their merits. We do note, per our standard RFP language, that you are not beholden to select any one, nor are you beholden to select the lowest bidder just because they're the lowest bidder, so. And I do know we've, at least between our current provider, and we have two other providers that have expressed interest, so. And then we'll typically send out to other area providers, so I do anticipate we should at least see 3 responses. So,
There is no exclusivity, right? There's no exclusive, okay,
as far as like,
between the city and a contractor.
no, I mean, once we would do this, we would enter into that
Yeah,
exclusive relationship for, we asked for, I think, a minimum of a 5-year period, which is what we did last time we bid out trash.
because part of the information that the presenter had last go-round was, the state doesn't permit exclusive contracts anymore for cities.
Yeah.
I think that's correct. The other, my concern also is the people who have to make the conversion, if there is a conversion. Is there any kind of a guesstimate of how much time it's going to take them to do that?
Julie might be able to remember, I mean,
When we did the transition from previous to Nisley, I mean, it was, I think, a couple week long process because, I mean, trying to get people to put their carts out curbside so that they could be picked up by Waste Connections. And then I think our parking lot the parking lot over by the fire EMS station was full of dumpsters while those were getting delivered to customers. And even now, we have customers that still have Waste Connections. That we get told that they have a Waste Connections cart that never did get picked up. And I think one of the biggest struggles back then was not only that change out, but then we changed the schedule and days too. And that was really hard for people to get used to.
Okay, and how much time does it take you to make the
Yeah, that's
switch
what I wanted to
in the computer system?
I don't think that's that difficult because we can go in and do a mass change in the tables.
So the man hours are more on them.
More on them and our maintenance guys, because, Nisley's gonna go deliver 1 cart to every customer probably, and then those customers are gonna be calling in here saying, hey, I had 2 carts before, I need to have another one dropped off. So Public Works is probably gonna see more of it. City Hall's gonna see the questions and answering phones and saying, oh, I forgot to put my card out today, can you guys get me on the list to be picked up next week because I got missed and stuff like that, but.
and we had some lessons learned from the last conversion, like the city's contract ended basically on December 31st and the new one started January 1st. And we were, of course, over Christmas and New Year holidays, and it was like, so everyone is supposed to put out their cart for collection, but then their new cart's not coming till January 1st. There's a week of no trash. And like I said, we had to kind of put out those logistic things of like, everybody gets 1 cart and then we'll come around and do the additional carts. And
Just an FYI on this, North Newton uses Nisley. Their rates are $18 a month, which is more than ours. Valley Center uses Waste Connections. Their rates are $18.10 a month, which is more than ours, which is more than what they offered us had we just accepted what was there. But we'll go with hopefully they'll come through like they have before. Somebody will come through anyway. We'll see what happens.
With that, Mr. Mayor, if there's no more questions or discussion, I'd make a motion to approve the issuance of RFP for residential solid waste collections for the city of Halstead.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to issue this RFP for residential solid waste collection. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Next under new business is setting the final 2025 budget work session. It's got a nice ring to it,
The word final.
since I missed the last one.
say, just based on the feedback from our last one, which was very helpful, We've made some adjustments to the proposed budget and just want to have a final one. We will have to keep ourselves in compliance with the state calendar and needed publication times for all the public hearings, have to approve at our next meeting on the 26th. The budget summary hearing, which again, you can still tweak the budget at that point, but that sets your limit of you can't adopt any tax rate higher than those notices. We already have the revenue neutral limit we set previously, but looking at the week of August 19th for that, so next week, I will note the 19th does have a planning and zoning meeting scheduled, so Monday night would be out, but any other night, I believe staff should be able to make work.
At this point, I'm open any night next week.
21st would work for me. I got to teach on Tuesday night.
I might not be there again.
Again?
I'll find out. I may need to be in North Dakota that week.
A little early for pheasant season.
It's actually work-related,
Okay.
but I could potentially FaceTime in. So set a date that works for you guys next week.
Well, I'm good, open to anything, so
21st work.
21st for me,
Wednesday,
Wednesday, yeah.
6 o'clock,
That's good.
6?
Yep.
Shrimp cocktail?
Do it.
Good.
Give me your card. I will go shop.
Just invoice it to Jan's Law. Just need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to set our next city council work session for the 21st of August at 6 PM.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to set a work session for August 21st at 6 PM. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That work session is set. We do have one attorney-client privilege executive session this evening, and I would entertain the motion for that just as soon as Ethan hands it down to Jim.
That's what you get, Jim.
Mr. Mayor, I move this Halstead City Council recess to executive session to discuss potential litigation with a city attorney on a matter that would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship exemption KSA 75-43-19B2 to include the city manager and the city attorney. Return back to council meeting at 7:52 PM.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to enter into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, we are in executive session. We'll move to the back room.
Our light's not green yet.
We are back from our executive session. Is there any action to be taken as a result of? Hearing nothing from the council, we'll move on to the report section of our agenda, and we'll start off with governing body comments. Tonight, I'll start with you, Jim.
Looked like Old Settlers went well. I partook in some and did the fire department thing for a few other things, just because. And appreciate all the efforts of the Old Settlers Committee. Did a good job.
Charlie.
Touche. Kudos for the Old Settlers Committee. Outstanding job. Mother Nature was really nice to us. She could have given us a little more rain, but you know, it was great. I don't envy where Jim lives. The engine braking thing that comes down his 801 makes my windows rattle. I suspect they make his windows rattle too. And I would suggest if we can find the funding for it from somebody, where he lives, we need to put another storm warning device, a siren. Most of our storms come from the northwest or the west, do they not? As a rule. So that kind of wind that came through with this tornado, you know, would have come from the west, could have covered Jim's house as well as my house and the school, because we couldn't hear it.
You can't hear any of that?
There was no way we could hear it.
I think the last two we put in were part of a grant, weren't they?
So we have one on 10th and one on
Went to the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you've got a lot of people now on the south side of the slough.
I can tell you that night, I am half a block north of the one on 6th Street. We couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think you could hear
that
anything.
close. That came in so hard and fast. We were outside and could not hear that storm siren. Crazy.
I heard one just barely intermittently. And I'm sure it was running the whole time, but it was just the wind speed that was taking the sound waves away.
Yep. Yeah, I wish there was a way to look at that to see if there's funding for that.
Well, and we can certainly probably apply for that grant again to see if we can add one.
Yep, that's actually,
Or two.
it's a mitigation grant, but yeah, I mean, our current, like, as hard as it might be to believe technically in pristine or normal conditions that they test for, the coverage map, the one that's our oldest storm siren at 6th at the school, essentially covers the entire town, starts to get a little bit too. So the two we put in actually cover and we have redundancy now across the whole. And I'll send you the coverage map out. Again, that's assuming a lot of very specific and favorable conditions and weather,
No wind and no humidity, you gonna hear it.
barometric pressure, et cetera, can largely affect storm sirens. And
Maybe we should put one up behind our spec building.
Not a bad plan.
we always tell people, that's the first thing is that they are not actually designed for you to be heard indoors.
Didn't we used to give out alarms or something?
Weather radios,
Weather
did that for a year, I think.
Got a huge number. Like, we were begging people to take that.
Jim remembers, he programmed half of them.
I remember many of those, yes.
People were calling to pay their utility bill, like, hey, you want a weather radio?
That or Doug, either one of us.
Yeah, we gave away a lot.
That's all I have.
All right, thanks for getting us off track there, Charlie. All right, George?
I have nothing, sir.
John?
I think we covered it, yeah.
Okay. Well, then we'll move on to Ethan for the city manager report.
Yeah, thank you. I, just like everyone else, want to thank the Old Settlers Committee and the many volunteers and other community organizations or groups that help and participate in making Old Settlers what it is. I just want to thank the many city departments for their behind-the-scenes and sometimes not-so behind-the-scenes assistance, both before and during the event as well. It's great to see the community come together to pull off such a wonderful showcase of the town and the community and visitors celebrate Halstead. The front and back approaches of the speculative building have been poured. Work continues on the interior, but the city has crossed the threshold for progress on that project. We did finally receive our first half of grant funds for the project, and then also are anticipating that $5,000 donation from Harvey County EDC towards the project. So nice to see some revenues, if you will, come back towards that project instead of just expenditures. The city did issue an occupancy certificate for 204 Main Street, and it was in use over Old Settlers. It's been great to see how far that building has come since 2017, when the city got involved due to its dilapidation and danger to the public. The whole goal when we decided against complete demolition of that property was for the property to hopefully be put back into productive use. And now with that occupancy certificate, it is been put back into use. So it's good to see that come back and that project be successful. Hopefully, the new wayfinding signs will be going up around Labor Day or early September. We did get approval on 2 of the sites that we needed to coordinate with Harvey County on the tentative placement for those, and are working on the final copy. So once we get it sent with not an extra S or anything on it, we should have the copy for the signs all straight away, and then get those up as soon as we can. And we're waiting on the final technical details, but so far, everything Pat's seen hasn't scared him off, so we are pretty confident that Public Works should be able to help with that and save some funds on that project, so. And other than that, most of the other stuff, a lot of time was Old Settlers based. Sent out the rest of the manager's report to you all via email before the meeting, so. There is a copy, July is soft close there. Since I just gave you all a financial report last meeting, I didn't want to go do tonight. You can see though our cash position that still in relatively good shape. Gas fund there, more kind of what we talked about budget in terms of the deficit spending we've been doing, needing to slow that down. But our capital project funds are still in good place. Everything's going on. I believe with the mayor back, we'll have some contracts signed, hopefully get started on the 9th Street project here in the next couple of weeks. And it's looking good going into the fall. So.
All right, anybody have any questions of Ethan's report? Well, before I ask for a motion to adjourn tonight, I just want to mention again how nice it was to have 2 pillars of the community present tonight with John Stutzman and Larry Williams, and be able to recognize them for their contribution towards our Main Street extension. I can only hope to live up to what those 2 gentlemen have brought to this community, and it was just really nice for me to be able to share that moment with them. So with that, we've concluded our agenda this evening, and I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, council.